In Creo Schematics, you can use data tables to configure properties for different varieties of wires, cables, and connectors. Let's take a look at what I mean by that. Here I am in a schematic. I've just instanced a couple of connectors on here. I'm going to route a wire between them. And I'll use just this black 20 gauge wire. Let's click the OK button, and then let's route it from here over to there. Simple enough. And then I will right click and exit out of the tool. And so here you can see we have wire 1, and again it has the information about its properties. If I select it, right click and then choose properties, here you can see the information that's entered, but I can use the apply dataset button to select different gauges and different colors. For example, let's say that I want a red wire. Let me find red down over here, and it filters down in the list. And so let's say that I want to use a 12 gauge red wire. Let's click the OK button, and the properties are updated over here. Let's click OK again, and the labels update in the entity. Let's take a look at how you can configure your own data tables for your wires. And I'm starting out in my template starter. This is the schematic that I created using the demo database that PTC provides for you. Let's go to the Design tab. If I go to the Data Table Explorer, here we can see that in the demo database there are a few different pre-configured 3-conductor wires that you have over here. In another video, I'll go through the structure for predefined cables. Here we have some different connectors. Make that a little wider. We have some sub-miniature cylindrical connectors. Let's see over here, some different relays that they have in here. The good people at Virtual Interconnect have provided some other data tables as well. This looks like it's for a 2-conductor wire. But here are the wires data table. And if you take a look in here, we have the names. Here it's just the color with a dash followed by the wire gauge. They've got the different values configured in here. And we can see that we've got brown, black, blue, orange, white, red, yellow, gray, green. And so a total of 99 data sets that are provided for you. And they are for those different colors from 4 gauge up to 24 gauge. And they go by 2s. I decided that I wanted more. I wanted to create my own data table with more properties in here. And you can use this existing data table as the source for doing that. The first thing that you would want to do is to right click on the data table and then choose Save Object. And I'm just going to save it to my desktop, seeing as I already saved out to that particular folder. And for the name of the file, we'll just call this, well, we'll just hit the save button. It should just save it for us. And it saves it out to the desktop. And it creates a CSV file that you can edit in Microsoft Excel. So let me jump out of here and then go to Excel to show you how I would do that. So here I am in Microsoft Excel. I've imported the CSV file. It has a standard format. The top line, the first line of every data table that's used in Creo Schematics has to have the standard words type followed by data table. And then the second row, we have the different columns over here. And some of these are required. Some of them are sort of necessary for tracking, and others are recommended. So for example, if you take a look at the list over here, spool name is required for wires, also thickness and minimum bend radius, object type, and units. Those are the 5 required columns for a wire. You'll notice that we have some other ones like index that helps us organize all the different ones in here. And also we have the data set type indicating what kind of object that it is. Some of the optional ones that they have in here are color, and we also have this one for wire gauge, and also the name format. So when you generate a wire, how is the name going to come out? Now, a few things about this data table that is provided with Creo Schematics. First off, if you take a look at the thickness, the minimum bend radius is half of the thickness. Personally, I usually use 2 times the thickness as the minimum bend radius at as a default. Sometimes I'll use 4 times the thickness. In my younger, crazier days when I wasn't that smart, I would use 8 times the thickness, which made it really hard to route wires and cables in a lot of different situations. Also, if you take a look at, for example, here we have wire gauge of 4, they have a thickness of 0.25. If you take a look at the different American wire gauge tables, it actually comes out to the copper conductor diameter is like 0.2036. So they've added a little extra to the thickness to account for things like the insulation. Here we have the color codes, and they're using 2 letters. I use the color codes that come out of, it's like Mill Standard 681, where they use 3 letters. So those are some of the different things that I want to change in mine. Also, the names that they have over here, they're just going with a color and then a dash and the wire gauge listed after that. So I took this data table that they provided and copied it and started editing it in another tab. And so here's the stuff that I have. Let me increase it a little bit. I decided to go with naming that is using the SAE wire gauge for 22759. That also corresponds to the military wire grade, which is M22759. I just decided to go with the more generic SAE one. They're the same thing. And you'll find that this wire is very commonly used in aerospace applications. And so I'm using my 3-letter codes, and I'm going everything from a wire gauge of 1 up to a wire gauge of, if I scroll down over here, wire gauge of 30. So I'm getting those 10 different colors for wire gauges 1 through 30, and I also decided to use 3 different kinds of wire. So if you have the 22759/11, that's for silver plated copper. If you have the /12, that is for nickel plated copper. And then scroll down over here, I also used the /16, which is tin plated copper. And by using Excel, I was able to generate 900 different kinds of wires. And of course, there's way more wire that you can purchase and use on the market in here. But just to note a few different things about what I had to do in order to use this. I added another column for color code, which is that numbering that's used in the mill standard for the different colors. And again, I'm using the 3-letter color codes over here. I have to make sure that this matches the colors that I have available in Creo Parametric so that they get assigned correctly. And I used a function in here to come up with the names. I basically took, hey, let's take the standard and then add in the column for the wire gauge, and then add in the color code over here. And so by having this formula for the naming, I was able to generate a lot of these different instances. I've got a formula over here, which is basically taking the thickness and multiplying by 2. So I have my 2x for the minimum bend radius, 2 times the thickness. And so again, just using a whole lot of copy and paste, it didn't take me that long to generate this Excel file with all the different values. And then once you have all your different entries in the data table, you're going to save this out. You can go to File, Save As, and I'm just going to choose the location over here. And you're going to save it out to a CSV file. I want to point out one mistake that I made. The first time that I was going to export this, I wasn't paying close attention, and I used the CSV UTF-8 format. If you use that format, Creo Schematics is going to give you an error saying that, hey, there's an error in the first line of the data table. I can't read it in. Make sure that you just use the generic CSV format for saving this out, and then save out whatever you want. If I want to actually go save this, I would get an error in here. It's like, hey, you know, you've got multiple tabs over here. You can either cancel out or just save the active tab. And I'll say, yes, I'm going to save the active tab. And yes, I want to keep using this format. And so now I've just got the CSV file open over here. Now this one has a space in the file name, so I'm actually not going to read in this CSV file. I already exported this out to another CSV file. So now let's jump back over to Creo Schematics and read this information in. All right, to read in the file, I'm still on the Design tab over here. I can go to the Data Table Explorer, and here I have my Wires folder. I can right-click on here and choose Load Data Table, and I'm going to grab, let me see where I put my different files. I have a folder, schematic setup. Here is the AS22759 CSV file that I exported, and when I go to read this in, right now I'm going to get an error. It says, hey, there's a problem in here. That parameter color code is not defined. I created that additional column for the color code so I could automatically generate the different names. So let's fix this so that we have a property called color code. Let's go to our edit global parameters over here. Here's our parameter pool. Right now I don't have one for color code, so let's click the new button, and I'm going to change the name to match that. Color_code, and it's a number. It's really an integer, so I can use that for the color code. Let's click the OK button and then close out of here. Go back to the Data Table Explorer. Once again, right click and choose to load a data table. Select that CSV file, click the Open button, and it says, okay, the following data tables / maps are required. If I was loading in a cable, typically you're going to have 3 different data tables to define a cable, and I'll show you that in another video. Let's click the OK button, and now it is loading the data table. This is going to take a few seconds. In a moment, we'll see a dialog box open up showing the progress. Oh, there it is, loaded in there already. So again, with the original data table that was provided in the demo database. Again, here I have 99 different kinds of wires that I can choose to use, but now with this one, here it builds the hierarchy. You can see I've got a lot more entries over here. I've got my 900 different kinds of wires using that AS22759 name over here. And again, I can always go back to my Excel spreadsheet and create other additional ones. So for example, right now, I'm only using solid colors. In Creo Parametric 5.0, they added the capability to use stripes on your cables, and I'm going to show that in a later video. And so I'm going to go back at some point and create the additional wires that incorporate stripes in them as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more information, please visit www.creowindshield.com. If you learned something from this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, click the subscribe button to be informed when new videos are uploaded. And 77% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much.